welcome to the Better Podcast with me, Jen Beard and Bayleys. Today we're hearing from Roberta Stewart and Hayley Smith, amazing salespeople from Bayleys in Mount Eden. They've been in real estate for nearly a decade. Today you're going to hear their story about becoming a team, the importance of dating when you're thinking about teaming up, how to build trust, and how teaming up has made them a formidable force. Enjoy the conversation. Hayley and Roberta, thank you so much for showing up and agreeing to having this conversation with me. Welcome to the Better Podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
We're excited to be here.
Tell me how you ended up working together in the first place. Let's start right at the very beginning. Why real estate and why each other?
Well, we looked across the room and I saw a person that was a lot like me. We were at the same age and stage. Our kids were at the same age and stage. And then remarkably, our two boys were in the same class at school. Then we learnt that in actual fact, we were at the same schools ourselves. I was in the same year as Roberta's sister at Eggs. Then we found out that our mums worked together back in the day in Mount Eden in real estate. And so it was clearly meant to be.
And how long had you been in real estate when you had this gaze across the room?
I'd been in real estate about a year, Hayley a couple more years than me. Yeah, we actually got offered to do a property together. Another colleague was going overseas. She sort of said, do you want to do this together? We said, okay, we'll give it a go. And it literally evolved from there, which we've recently just sold that house. So it's been about 9 years we've been together now. And it was nice to sell that one again and bring back a few memories of how it all began and before things evolved. We worked together, but we weren't committed at that point. We were still sort of testing the waters and doing a few dates here and there in terms of properties that we were representing and selling, marketing. And until Grant Lynch from UP said to us, look, you two are doing a great thing here. Let's see where this can go. And perhaps you should consider making this formal. So the Facebooks were the first things that got changed. And we presented ourselves to the public as a united front.
So you went on a few dates and then Grant, essentially your manager, recognised the sparks between you and suggested that you might want to seriously consider making this a full-term thing?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So he does a really good job at sort of looking from the outside and seeing, look, Hayley's traits, my traits, this can really work well together. We've always been open and honest with him about what we expect from real estate because of our lives and our children and what we expect from them, their expectations for us. So he felt it would be, a great little fit for us.
So tell me how you've evolved as a duo, as a team. How does it work when you have a partner in the way that you do in this business?
I'd say a huge amount of communication. We're pretty open with each other. I think we've probably had a few stern words at each other maybe once, maybe twice, and it's been really good for us to grow. We've been open and honest about how we're both feeling and time we need off, and also respecting each other's home life and boundaries with kids. I think we've probably after the same sort of respect and response from each other. So it's worked quite well, I think, in that sense.
So tell me a bit more about that in terms of the lives that you have outside and around real estate and how you've managed to bring those two things together. I mean, my assumption is that being a team has helped to have some semblance of balance in your life. Paint a picture of what that looks like for you guys.
I think it's about really making sure that we both feel, for both of us, our families are our number one priority, like they are for most people. But this business is all-encompassing. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, half of the time. So you really need to feel that you can rely on someone to completely have it all if you've got, a sick child or you want to go to Ames games to see your little boy playing whatever they're playing, football. And I think it's important that we value that with each other and make sure that we give each other the time that we need.
Yeah, I think there's no questions asked. We never feel like we need to ask for permission. If we've got a family commitment or a child or a sick person, or we want to go to the gym or we want to go do something for ourselves, which we need to make a bit more time for. But we're very much the same and in the same stage of life as well. And I think that really helps. I think it's been fantastic having a business partner because it's allowed us to bounce things off each other, have each other's backs. There's a lot of conversation before a property even comes to the market. We want to be on the same page. We both brainstorm what's the best approach for that particular home. And we're actually different, but we're similar. So we bring different traits to the table.
So tell me about the ways in which you are different. What roles do you play in this partnership?
Well, I think if we talk about each other, we might get a really honest appraisal.
Yep.
No. So Roberta is one of the most driven people I know. In fact, I think she is the most driven person I know. So her role keeps this train going. I think that's what you are. You're the real driver. I'm not saying I'm just a passive passenger, because that's certainly not the case. We come at this business 100 miles an hour. We have to, because the amount of time we spend on our business, we have to maximise every minute, because every minute we're in work is a minute we're not with our families. And so you are maximising that time when you're working so that you can maximise the family time. And I think Roberta keeps us moving at a pace that I probably wouldn't move at if I was on my own.
That's fantastic.
And Hayley makes sure there's no errors, no issues, no mistakes. Hayley used to be a teacher, so her attention to detail and her ability to complete the task fully, think of every single angle that we need to come at it, is an amazing part of our team. I think I'm a little bit by the seat of the pants sometimes, and Hayley's crosses every T, dots every I. She's very thorough. She does not leave anything to chance. She will be up at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night still finishing something while, it's in her head. She's very, very committed like that. That side of it, I think, I'm usually the first one up in the morning. She's the last one to go to bed. So there's always one of us that's available or one of us that's running the ship.
This is the sort of thing that I hear about teams everywhere, right? It doesn't matter if you're in real estate or in whatever business you work in. Having different skill sets is what makes the team more powerful, because you're actually bringing a different mindset and different perspective and different skills to the table. Right at the very beginning of the relationship, did you get a sense that those skill sets were different and that was going to come together? Or was this, you just started and over time, your strengths have evolved and the team has been successful because of it?
I think it naturally evolved. We've definitely taken the reins with different roles that we need throughout a campaign. Hayley's sort of the marketing guru, and she's got the text and she takes care of certain things, whereas I pick up the slack on other bits and pieces. So I think it has organically evolved between us.
Initially, we took it really slowly. So I think that's quite key for us developing. We didn't do it in a rush. We didn't charge in with contracts where, we actually weren't even 100% committed to each other initially. We took it slowly. We made sure that we were a really good fit. And I think a good fit is a hard thing to find in business. And once we really knew each other and knew how well we could work together, then we formalised things more. And then that has evolved. We have had conversations where we've sat down and said, okay, our business has grown and grown now. We really need to define the roles more. We've done it as it's needed to be done. I would say we are intentional, but I would say we also have allowed this to form naturally at a pace that feels right for both of us. Now we're all in on every single thing. And that is because trust has been built. And I don't think if we had rushed at it and not felt fully comfortable and completely trusting the other person, in real estate, that's so important, right? I know that if Roberta's handling something, she's handling it. I don't need to hover over her and check. And I don't think she needs to hover over me and check. We do check each other, but we can rely on the other person to do it.
Trust is a really key thing, right? And you're right. It takes time and experiences with each other to build that. So when you say you took it slow at the beginning, what do you mean?
We weren't committed. I was still doing one little thing here with somebody else, and Hayley was, one other listing here, and it just never felt right working with those other agents. And I think it took that for us to appreciate what we had in each other. We would spend quite a bit of time with Grant Lynch, the director of UP Real Estate, and it was really him that acknowledged how great we were together. And he would sit us down and say, look at this. This is a team you guys are building, before we even knew it. And I think that was really the eye-opener for us to build even closer.
So you worked on a few listings together and built that little bit of understanding, like going on a few dates.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
definitely dated.
Yeah.
We definitely dated. Got a little more serious. to the point now when, Roberta's usually the first person I speak to in the mornings, probably before my husband and my children, maybe by way of text. But it just took time. But I think that's the testament to our relationship, is that we did take time with it.
Yeah. I think the first thing we did was we changed our Facebooks. We merged our Facebooks together, and then it evolved because we created the Hayley and Roberta, and everything across that, the internet, our profiles were all adjusted, all changed right then. Then we were committed, and we were both on that path then and never looked back.
I really love what you said about as your business together has evolved, that you have sat down and gone, right, okay, we're in a different place now. We need to change how we do things, or we need to change our roles a little bit and get really clear on who's doing what. I mean, I assume so that you're maximizing your efficiency, but also not standing on each other's toes. It's a really mature thing to be able to be aware of the point at which you need to have that conversation and to have it in the first place before you hit a big challenge. But I'm sure that you have hit your fair few challenges. Tell me about navigating those as a team.
It's definitely nice sharing the load, that's for sure. We both, if there's any concerns or worries or queries or even excitement, happy things, that happen, we do share that, and that is really lovely to do that.
I think it's, again, comes down to that trust. We won't mince words with each other either. If someone needs to change something that we've done, or we're not afraid of confronting the hurdles when they've happened, but I completely trust Roberta to not make it about, it's not a criticism. It's not a, you've let me down. There has never once been, and there have been mistakes, of course there have been, but there's never been once been, you've let me down. It's like, right, how are we going to sort this? And sometimes when you're crumbling a little bit, because that's also happened, where you sort of feel like, crikey, we need to fix this. But the person that maybe has made the error or the mistake can sometimes feel a little bit like, it can feel a little overwhelming in this job sometimes. And that's what's been wonderful for us, is that the other of us will go, right, I've got this now. I'm going to carry this. You can breathe. You're still a great person. You're still a great real estate agent. I've got this. And then we are very proactive. We front foot things. We do not hide away from those things. And we really both believe in that, I think, facing those sorts of things head on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such an important strategy in any real estate business, right? Deal with the smoke before it becomes a fire.
100%.
Yep. And inside and outside of our relationship, we have each other's backs, and we know that no matter what. I think our open relationship in terms of our communication with each other has been vital for that.
It's interesting, because this feels like trust as well, right? That actually, when you've got a whole load of trust, you can face down someone and give them some feedback, some critical feedback, and the relationship isn't at risk. Sometimes, you don't want to give somebody feedback because their poor reaction might damage the relationship, but you've got such a strong base foundation of respect and trust for each other that you can step into those hard conversations. You can step in for each other. You can step past each other, and the relationship is never at risk.
Absolutely. And I think that stems as well from when we began this process, became a team, we did do everything together. And I think that was actually essential. At some point that became ineffective, it became inefficient. But initially it meant that we both honed our craft in all aspects of the business. I think if you divvy it up too early, and bearing in mind that, we were new to real estate, newish or new to real estate when we were together. I think I'd sold for a couple of years and Roberta had sold for about a year. So neither of us were experts. So initially, sometimes you did feel like you were doubling up on things, but I think the doubling up was actually really important to build the trust in each other, and also trust that we're both honing the craft, so that when you do come to split it up, divide up the tasks, there's just no doubt. There's no doubt that they're not being done properly.
We were also building a brand at that time, and we wanted, both of us, especially Hayley, I would say, that it's got to be the perfect brand. Everything's got to be consistent out there. We want to make sure that everyone is clear what they're going to receive from Hayley and Roberta, and that had to happen slowly, and until we knew what the marketing looked like, or the, our attention to this, or our, time here was, that needed to evolve before that brand could really grow.
Speaking of brand, let's talk about changing brands because you became part of the Bayleys family when Bayleys and UP merged. Tell me about navigating that as a team. What has been the best part of coming into the Bayleys family? And what do you think you guys have been able to bring with you from, the amazing business that UP was?
We've talked about it often to people as being like we've put a power pack on. So we are who we were, and we've brought with us all of the wonderful things. And I think it was the honing of the craft. It was very intimate business, UP, and that really enabled us to hone our craft. But when Bayleys brought us on and we became Bayleys, it really did feel like we just packed on some rockets. And that comes with the amount, the depth and breadth of support that we get that just a smaller company can't do so much of. They just can't.
Amazing. And one thing that I have learned very quickly about you guys is that you have very big smiles and there's a lot of laughing in your business, that you take this really seriously, you take the relationship really seriously, but you don't take yourselves too seriously at times. There seems to be a lot of fun in your business. How does that happen?
I don't think we would be in business together if we didn't have fun. And we both love fun.
Yeah.
We're fun people.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we're definitely got a lot in common, but we do work differently, and that's why it all evolves quite well. Coming into Bayleys has been fantastic for us as well to have that lifestyle as well, that freedom, and we're included in a lot more. There's social events, there's corporate connections that we're able to build, and a lot of them are around social times. And to be honest, that's where a lot of our business comes from. So having young children, I think they were 5 and 6, and my daughter was even younger at the time. Most of our clients have come from social events. So we drag each other along to, the Balmoral School or the MAGs and the Mount Eden Normal and the A&I events. And that's where we connect with our community and our clients. And it's always a good time. So if we weren't enjoying it, we wouldn't be doing it. So I think we're pretty true to needing to have a bit of fun while we're slogging away as well, because we do work long hours. We do work very hard. And, our families are very supportive, but obviously they do miss out a little bit, especially weekends and sports events. So
I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't see necessarily on the outside looking into people who work in real estate, right? It's kind of all encompassing, but there's all these areas of your life that kind of weave together that, just the nature of needing to have a trusted network so that people will choose you to sell their biggest asset means that you are socializing and kind of working at the same time. You're taking your kids to school and kind of networking at the same time. You're being a part of the community and enjoying community events and kind of working at the same time. There's this synergy that comes with community and real estate and partnership. Tell me more about the community stuff that you do, because you're really involved, right?
Well, it has to be authentic. That's number one. And it can't be doing it to receive anything back. If you're doing it because there's a string attached and you're going to get some marketing from it, or if you go into it saying, I'm doing this because I want to get a listing, you're over. You've totally missed the point.
People see straight through that.
Straight through it. And we've seen that happen to colleagues and other companies, with our connections to schools. You have to do the work because the work in the community is important, because it builds communities for all the families we serve, but also for our own family. You have to do it for those reasons. And if you're doing it for those reasons, then the work naturally comes in terms of real estate.
It kind of almost doesn't feel like work, right? Yeah.
That's right.
And lots of people say that about real estate too. I love it because it's my life, but it's my life because of the way that the work is woven into the way I want to live my life anyway.
And it's amazing actually how often times we meet with people that first time we've met them, but they've read our bio and they may link in and say, oh, actually, my child is at the same water polo club that you were at, Roberta, and there's a lot of connections through the sporting world with you or with me, with my background in education and in the governance roles I've been in. The amount of people that say, oh, yes, I was at Play Centre when you were on the board, or when you're on the board of Balmoral School, my child was there, or when you were a teacher, you taught my child. These sorts of things come up for us all the time.
When you're selling someone's house, they have to really trust you. They're stuck with you for the next 3 to 4 weeks, making one of the biggest transactions, in that chapter in their lives. They've got to trust you. They've got to really like you as well. And so it's those community and those times when we're out in the public, road patrol or school camp, that's when people really get to know you. And that's when it sort of, I think, filters into that schoolyard gossip or schoolyard chats, as well as our accolades for sales in the area. It's those sorts of moments that, like Hayley said, we're not out there to get that listing, or we don't smell like it. We're there, we're natural, and it's because we enjoy that time with our kids too. It's just, the sorts of people that we are and the mums that we are, and it has created that brand that sometimes our vendors, we say, look, we can't be there. We've got to pick up a kid from sport. They get it. And they have to get it because that's our lives. And although we've got supportive partners, we want to be mums for our children while they're at this time in their lives and forever and a day, but they're obviously a little bit more reliant now. They've got to understand what our commitments are, but that's why it works so well being together. Hayley knows I've got road patrol on a Tuesday afternoon. She covers everything at that point, or if there's something, our vendor can always get us. They can always communicate with us. We set up little WhatsApp groups with all of our vendors, and often after a settlement, after a sale with a purchaser, so that we're always on the same page. So if one of us does have one of these events or something going on, someone else is going to pick it up and we're on the same page. So like Hayley said earlier, we're not having to cover each other off or double up on the workload. We just catch up on the communication. We're not having to check in with each other all the time on how things have progressed. And I think that allows us to have a little bit more of a smoother sailing sales process, as well as it makes communication for the vendors. The more information you can give them, the more comfortable they feel. And, it's a pretty stressful process to go through. So as much burden as we can take off, we like to do.
Fantastic. Give me a highlight. What have you, if you think back over the last 9 years and a thrilling moment or a moment when you've gone, yeah, we're really doing this. We're really good at this. This is going to be great. We just did that.
We just had one the other day. So we have them all the time. But we had one the other day. Lucky us, yeah. We were selling a property, Hasbury Ave in Mount Eden. We had a heaving auction room, which is on site for us, so at the house. There were 15 registered bidders, and Roberta was standing on one side of the garden in between multiple buyers, and I was standing on the front porch. We write numbers, we encourage people to bid, and are communicating with these buyers the whole time. And at one point, I was looking over at Roberta, and she was moving from one buyer to the next with writing the numbers down, and I was on the other side of the garden on the porch, and someone was yelling, I want to bid, and leaping over with the form to get them to bid, and then to the next person. And it was just so energetic, and it just had such a exciting vibe, and it sold extremely well. But that was almost by the by. It was the feeling in the space of the room.
I think the best part was the lovely little family that were inside. They'd been preparing the house for a year to bring it to the market. They were undecided whether they were going to sell it in the first place. So we've actually been talking to them for multiple years, and they finally did it. We supported them all the way through. It's been a very, very long process to get them to that moment and to see their faces. I mean, she said, we were in tears, we were happy, we were sad, we were crying, we were all those emotions. And like Hayley was saying, it kind of felt like that out on the floor as well. So it was really, really lovely for that family that had held on to that home for 100-something years for that sort of result for them. My other favourite was some very, very good friends of Hayley's. It was the second time we'd sold for them, and they were down in Whanganui on a Zoom. So we had the auction at the house and they were on the Zoom, and we were still going. Mark Summich had the auction going. He was 500, 1,000, 5,000. And they were already drinking champagne on the computer. It was Zoom. In the Zoom before the property had even sold. They were just over the moon. So it's fantastic when that happens, but it was more that, they were in a situation where that house needed to sell. They really needed it to sell. And the fact it just flew past what their expectations were, and we know personally how that's going to affect their life moving forward, that really set with me. Like, that was a really special moment for them.
I think that's the absolute crux of our business, isn't it? And it's the thing that I bring with me from teaching. When you're working with someone's child for a year, you're doing one of the most important things you can do for that child at that time, next to their parents. And it was never lost on me how important my role was, and that I have completely transferred. People often say, gosh, it's very different. You've gone from teaching to real estate. Why would you do that? It actually isn't different. That is exactly how it's the same. And we know that whatever we do is going to have a massive impact for not only the vendor's family going forward, but the purchaser's family. It will mean where their children go to school, who their children will be friends with, what community they're going to build. It can mean make huge financial change for those families. It may mean that they now have money that they're able to have experiences they may not have been able to have, or it may solve problems that they were in a difficult situation. So whatever's coming at us, that is why we're doing what we're doing. That is the absolute crux of it.
That's fantastic. So if you were talking to some new real estate agents who'd been in the business for a year or two and were thinking about teaming up and becoming a dynamic duo just like you, what advice would you give them?
Choose carefully.
Choose carefully.
Yeah, date a few first, try them out, make sure that there's a good fit there.
Take your time with that, because when you get it right, you are set up for the long term. And I just think be your authentic self. It's a really easy trap to fall into, to be watching everybody else all the time in real estate. You know, someone's got 5 listings in the area where you work, and why didn't you get those listings? And obviously we're across that. We get that. We understand it. But I just have blinkers on. I'm interested in my business, and I'm interested in my clients and my customers and my business partner. I don't pay too much attention to that. You have to row your own boat. You have to, dance to the beat of your own drum. You can't try to be someone else in real estate.
Yeah, because this comes back to the trust and authenticity and relationship piece too, right? Because people see straight through it. Yeah. If you're not being authentic and you're not working in their best interests, they can smell it on you.
They can. One of the most common pieces of feedback we get is that we're not real estate. So how do you... That's quite something. Yeah. So people say, oh, we loved Hayley and Roberta. They weren't real estate, which is quite something, because we are real estate. This is what we do. But I get what they mean, and that's important to us.
I hear that all the time too, right? That we work in an industry where everybody loves to hate real estate agents, and they do. Oh, but not my one. The one I use is amazing, and everybody has that experience, right? All of the other ones are awful, but you guys are great.
Yeah.
So I guess we're really lucky at Bayleys to be surrounded by lots of amazing people, and lots of people to learn from, and lots of amazing people just like you. So thank you so much for your insight today. What is next for you guys? What does success look like over the next couple of years?
I think we want to grow our business. Yeah. We do want to grow our business. I don't think it.
We have grown it this year. So with the Bayleys support, we've brought on a PA, and she is, again, we dated a few. We tested them out. We've found a fantastic PA who has absolutely fit into our mold. She's our right-hand man. She's fantastic, Amanda. So she does not have contact with any of the clients or any of the customers. That's what we do. But she's behind the scenes running things for us. And I think that's been a fantastic support that we've received, and that will organically, again, grow our business. She really finishes us off and takes a lot of that stress out and allows us to do our jobs just that much better. That's how we will just organically evolve our business. The support that we get from Bayleys, the networks, the contacts, that will help us. And, we will never take on more than what we can handle. We always want to make sure that we are still delivering the best service that we possibly can. And having the two of us obviously allows us to a little bit more. But going back to your last question, I just wanted to add that if you do get the opportunity to try and a partner and test the waters with coexisting with another fantastic agent, it is great to be able to take the burden off when there is the jealousy that something else has come on, or you've missed something, or you've won something, or just the sharing of that load is really great, especially with all the restrictions and rules and regulations. And as things beef up, it is really great to be able to question what you're doing, reinforce what you're doing, and check yourself every now and then, because you've got to do that if you're running your own business, making sure that you're staying on track and doing the right things. That's Hayley's job.
And yours is to keep driving this train
forward.
So thank you so much. I can't wait to see where you guys go over the next 12 months. But this partnership and the energy and fun and love that you bring to this is really inspiring. So thank you for sharing that, and just keep that shit up.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for getting all the way to the end of the Better Podcast with me, Jen Beard, and Bayleys. If you know someone who could get value out of this conversation, please share it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. See you next time.